Back for another in the car and off the cuff. Today's topic is going to be weight loss drugs and fad diets. Now, I want to preface all of this with this is just my personal opinion. It may change in the future, but this is just what I think right now. And if you think the same, then fair enough. If you think differently, then fair enough. You know, we're all entitled to our own opinions. And I want to start off with saying weight loss drugs, fad diets, they work. Yeah, it's really, there's no beating around the bush. You know, fad diets work. These weight loss drugs, I've seen people lose, you know, a lot of weight. And yes, that's brilliant. But why is it working? Because, well, we're eating in a calorie deficit, and I know I bang on about it, but a fad diet like keto, like Atkins, works because you are reducing your carbohydrate intake in this case, and that then means that your total daily calories that you are taking in is less than the total daily calories that you are expending. Yeah, so you are burning more calories than you're eating, so this creates a net deficit, and that's why you lose weight. The reason why we see quite a big weight loss initially, because carbs are stored as glycogen. Glycogen holds water. Carbs, when you eat them, also hold water as well. So for every gram of carbs, you might hold 4 grams of water. So when we initially start a keto diet or an Atkins diet, we see quite a big sort of drop off in weight. And similarly, when we continue to stick to the keto and Atkins diet, we see a big drop off in weight. But that only continues for as long as you can stick to said diet. Because how long will you actually be able to stick to a keto diet or an Atkins diet for? Could you stick to eating just meat, olive oil, nuts, avocado, salmon? You know, could you stick to that realistically? Or are you going to want to go out and eat steak and chips, and are you going to want to go out and, you know, or have a bacon sandwich on a Saturday? And you probably are. Like, let's not beat around the bush here. If you truly ask yourself, am I going to be able to stick to this for the rest of the time? Then the answer's no, then it might not be the right diet for you. And the reason why I say this is because whatever fad diet you choose to go with, there are ways, you know, you can lose the weight, and you can then change your approach by all means. But if you are choosing to go with a fad diet, I say this very, very, very lightly, and please don't take it the wrong way, you probably don't have the knowledge in order to adjust your input to then continue to keep that weight off and change your foods that you're eating, if that makes sense. So if you lose all the weight doing keto, are you really going to be able to keep that weight off and know how to manage your food correctly in order to keep the weight off? You might, you know, you might do, but you might not. And if you don't, then you're just going to put it all back on. So I think the best approach when it comes to dieting is not to do these fad diets, because they tend to be short-term fixes, rather than we want a long-term result that is going to last. And the way that we do that is by careful manipulation of food intake and making sure that our output is set accordingly to keep that deficit, just like what we're attaining when we follow a fad diet, but it's in a lot more sustained manner, and we actually have the foods that we enjoy, and it's going to be a lot more, your adherence is going to be a lot better, and you're going to be able to sustain it over the long term. So fad diets, they work, but they only work for as long as you do, and if you know how to get yourself out of it. That leads me nicely onto weight loss drugs. They work, but they only work for as long as you are taking them, and then it requires even more work from you. What we see is hunger increases, our desire and our want and need to eat food increases, so we go to the cupboard and eat said food, so hunger goes down. That's a habit that most of us have. In fact, everyone who is, not everyone, but most of the people who are overweight struggle to manage their hunger. So when they feel hungry, they always go and grab a snack rather than knowing how to deal with that hunger. What that weight loss drug is doing is it's reducing hunger, so you don't feel the need to go to the cupboard and eat and stuff like that. But what happens when you come off it and hunger comes back? You don't know how to manage and deal with your hunger. So that hunger that was once there went. That's why you're able to lose the weight, because don't forget, when you're not eating, you're eating in a calorie deficit. You are sticking to a net energy deficit, which is resulting in the weight loss. So then what happens when we begin to eat more because hunger's higher and our body is more accustomed and has learned to eat fewer food and just get by with less food? We're going to gain weight again. And I think this is something that people don't really realise. Like, if you're going to be taking these weight loss injections, it's just a quick fix. Again, you know, there's a thing for everything. You know, everyone has had a mate who's come off it, and yeah, they might have come off it and they might have kept all the weight off. But I'd say the chance of you going on it and, you know, losing that weight and then being able to keep it off is it's going to be a lot harder. You're making it a lot harder for yourself because you're not actually treating the habit. In fact, you're just trying to put a plaster over it, forget about it, and then as soon as you take the plaster off, it's going to start pouring with blood again. And that's when you're really into the hard times, because once you lose that weight, you then gain it all, you feel even worse, and you probably end up gaining even more because you've just starved yourself for that long, even though it doesn't feel like you've starved yourself. So yeah, they work. They do, but only for as long as you do. And for me, there are much, much better approaches than fad diets and weight loss jabs. There may well be a new injection or whatever that maybe have fewer side effects. You know, I think we forget about the health implications as well that these bring. But there may be one which has fewer side effects and will be a lot easier to come off. But I think with the ones that are in the media at the minute, Mounjaro, Ozempic, whatever it is, I think people aren't doing the research and aren't actually thinking about the long-term implications, not only on the health, but also on the weight gain. And people just need to be a little bit more patient, be consistent with what they're doing, and I guarantee you will gain so much more knowledge and so much more enjoyment from the journey, which will then allow you to lose even more weight. Yeah, I've had a guy who's he started at 120 kilo, he is now at 90 kilo, no weight loss jabs. He come to me, he literally said, I either come with you or I start taking these weight loss jabs. And, you know, we've lost the same amount of weight that he probably would have if he'd have taken these weight loss jabs in a longer period of time, but actually being able to enjoy the process. And guess what? He's keeping it off. He's not gone up. We've had none of this. It's all just been nice and consistent. So I think it is definitely something that people need to, you know, really look at if they are choosing to do a fad diet or these weight loss jabs, because it can potentially get you into a slippery slope. Not there to be negative though, because, you know, everyone can do what they want to do, and, you know, as long as you're happy, who am I to sort of say? But yeah, that's just my tuppence on those two. And if you want to see anything else, you want to see me discuss anything else, then let me know. That's it from me. You take care, and I'll see you next time.